So Lost Colony could be a monumental moment in ARK's history. The very first story map to arrive to ARK in 4 years, well, 4.5 years, to finally set up new storylines, integrate new gameplay mechanics, refresh a new standard for ARK survival, to at the very least reinvigorate players' interest. Looking specifically at a giant amount of ARK players, whether they're still playing ASE or took a break to await a new story map, there's a lot of players that are certainly awaiting this moment to finally jump into ARK Ascended and check out what developers Wildcard have been cooking up and learning since the game came to Unreal 5. And whilst there are plenty of us that are already excited and can't wait to tuck in and let the hype train commence, this brand new story map could quite be pivotal to ARK's success. And with it, there's a few questions and issues I've certainly got, a few of you out there have got too, on how on earth they're going to cement these and keep that big giant next-gen ARK door wide open to welcome in new and old players with open arms. I've got to say, this is a little bit inspired by Nanostel's recent new Lunar Missions revealed video, and I definitely encourage you to go and check that one out, considering the law of the moon and what it could possibly mean for the future of ARK. It's a really great informative word essay. Well, here's my 5 issues, kicking off with the introduction of a brand new villain, the Lost King. Setting up a new character that appears to be the new leader of the Lost Colony / Arat Prime inhabitant, seems to be adopting some Palpatine sort of chief in command vampire to somehow ward you off from entering his castle, with me speculating that we might not even interact with this character at all, in fact just simply setting the stage for this brand new villain, with instead closing out Mei Yin's storyline when you consider she's there front and centre, or well, side and centre, as I undoubtedly can't shake the feeling of her being the final boss, because, well, co-founder Jeremy Stieglitz kind of alluded to this in our Q&A that we got at the end of the Extra Life event a few weeks ago, explaining whilst there's a significant emphasis on detailing what happened to Mei Yin's post-Extinction, it closes out storylines and opens up new storylines for others. Okay, this could just be Mika, the daughter of Santiago that we know resides on the planet of Arat, where ARK 2 is planned to be set. And in fact, the daughter of Diana, one of the main characters, were planning to understand what the hell happened to her during the events of Lost Colony. And would kind of make sense too, with the Auli Hikravalo voiced character seeming to be pivotal to that sequel, being featured in every ARK 2 trailer. Okay, there's only 2, but every ARK 2 trailer so far, as well of course as these Lost Colony teaser trailers. Consider the voice actor behind this character, Emmy award-winning Keith David, who's been in an absolute plethora of films over the decades gone by, but perhaps more prominently to you and me, video games such as Halo 2 being the voice of the Arbiter, as well as roles in Mass Effect, Fallout, Call of Duty. The man is an absolute legend in both scenes, both film and video game scenes. And then consider this and keep your ears well and truly open listening to this line in the Lost Colony Expansion Pass teaser trailer.
I have seen your memories within the Codex. You are a broken soul. You left behind those dearest to you. One murdered and watched another vanish into nothingness.
The dude literally kicks off with explaining he knows the Codex, the library of information that stores everything about everyone through centuries, informing us and him of every single character within the ARK universe. This is somebody that knows the ins and outs of every single character: Helena, Mei Yin, Edmund Rockwell, Santiago, I guess even Mika. This is somebody who's in the unique position to manipulate each and every one of them. Somebody who seems drawn to not allowing us to travel to Gen 2, aka the life vessel spaceship that's travelling to the planet of Arat, and in fact could be the catalyst in how Rockwell was sent to Gen 2 in the first place. Actually, in fact, wanted humankind to not make it to the planet of Arat because, you know, he's a monstery looking dude. Perhaps even there's some spite there against the Homo Deus form, seeing they've evolved the opposite way, and we've got a very much good versus evil battle going on here. And once again, hello Palpatine. That in fact, and put your tinfoil hats on for this one, could be the actual influence for the Aratai, the hostiles that are on the planet of Arat, and they're in fact somehow inspired by the Lost Colonists. These were some pre-evolved, evolved versions of the vampire-like forms that we're going to be encountering on Lost Colony. The point being, we know there's new storylines with new characters with this map, and it all really firms a point, big red finger at the Lost king, and if that's the case, how is his involvement not going to overshadow Edmund Rockwell? Edmund Rockwell was always seen to be this overpowering villain, our arch nemesis throughout the entire ARK franchise, being destroyed for his mutated limbs to flow into the world of space. And yes, it's voiced by David Tennant, who of course has had an absolutely prominent role throughout the entirety of ARK. But we can't help but feel Gen 2 really does close out Edmund Rockwell's storyline. Wildcard have already said Rockwell won't be the antagonist of Lost Colony. It's obviously going to be setting up this Lost King. And if all of these theories are true, what comes next? We know there's going to be new story maps coming to ARK, but where are those going to bridge the gaps between Gen 1 and Gen 2 and ARK 2's Planet of Rat? Could we be finding instead, as per NanoStel's video, that we actually detoured to the moon first, or somehow our characters somehow split off in some weird way because there is some ambiguity surrounding which character we actually play when we get to Gen 1. And this alternative timeline path is our character actually chasing the Lost King to wherever he goes next, and Gen 1 introduces a brand new character. I think it would be a bit confusing if that was to happen, but I don't feel this map is closing out the Lost King storyline, not by a long shot. And possibly, think about this, Gen 1 might not be the next chronological story map. Okay, so the next one, you've already been talking about this one quite a lot so far, and the devs have addressed this as it appears to be a bit of an issue. But Valwynns, you know, these lovely cuddable creatures you can claim as your companion, just like the Armored Doggo, but this one being a multiplying frost demon dog of doom that got introduced with Raasclark and then was quickly explained that you would be able to evolve this creature with Lost Colony. Originally planned to be a transferable creature, so all the time you spent with your Valwynn, you could then take it over to Lost Colony, transfer it over to their day one, and then evolve it into either this insanely demonic Malwyn or heavenly sphinx-like Soulwyn. But there's a little problem circulating that a lot of people have raised attention to, and that is of course mutations, unofficial at the very least, are capping out. They've already been capped out. They've been capped out for a long while. Seeing some Valwynns with monstrous 8k base health and then 1500 plus melee. Don't forget, like, the addition of a weight stat. Entering into Lost Colony Day 1 with one of these mutated Valwynns, it's going to be like having your own very own personal side-by high-leveled monstrous Rex that never dies, well, kind of dies, but then comes back after a certain amount of time, and will pretty much enable you to kill anything and everything from the moment your feet touch the snow in this new story map. Least we forget the amount of duplications you can apply to these things. It's pack buff. The fact it literally does beat mini bosses if you've got one powerful enough. It's no wonder this thing was meant to be an original level cap of 100, but you know, breeders can go wild, and breeders certainly have. They don't stop with anything, and they've definitely enforced some monstrous bred dirtbag that frankly is going to go against Wildcard's intentions with this map. It's meant to be the most punishing map yet, and well, it's going to be a doddle if you're walking with one of these highly mutated versions. I mean, even without mutations, these things can do some serious damage. I know they were an incentive originally, you know, to pre-order Lost Colony and with that promise to take them over to that map. But with the base stats that are being pushed out now, there needs to be some way of controlling or capping what you can actually take over to Lost Colony of these Valwynns. The only solution I can think of right now, and while it sucks and it's really going to pain a lot of breeders out there, is to not allow mutated versions, to allow anything that's got no points in that extra little bracket. But I know that's going to go down like an absolute lead balloon, but there needs to be some way of controlling this. You've already promised it, so you've got to deliver it, but how do you now cap it? And that's the only way I can think this could be controlled. Maybe create a level cap with what Valwynns can be taken over. The point is to limit progression, and well, speaking of, that's certainly a third point too. Because looking at how Gen 1 and Gen 2 were delivered, look, we all know how to play ARK. We've been playing this for a very, very, very long time. Okay, not everyone out there, but there's a lot of players out there that have. And Wildcard know this. Wildcard have been intending to reinvent the survival wheel with every map that they've released. Genesis 1 and 2's offerings were, in NanoStel's word, a barrier of entry with, well, frankly, little narrative imagination. Certainly won't argue the creativity with a lot of these missions. A lot of them are really cool and fun, some of them are very frustrating, and certainly some of them were head-banging against wall difficult, but their integration with the lore and story were, well, for the most part missing. They were treated as very separate gameplay elements, and they could be because, you know, simulation, and with simulations you can make up any excuse for anything to be anything. Wildcard said in our interview last year they were looking how to redefine that survival experience in environments that hunts you. Those words in particular I've been lingering on since that interview. But it does feel like in Jeremy's later response that perhaps that idea, that execution, has been somewhat diluted since, as Jeremy explains, that Lost Colony isn't so much a redefinition of what we've done before, but rather a further refinement of it, with them more inclined to testing this map as a narrative story-led production. Lingering on the tease of this map, including in-game play real-time sequences, my guess would be that Lost Colony progression will be somewhere between the two, somewhere between what we've known in survival in previous maps and the missions of Gen 1 and 2. But there won't simply be these virtual consolidated side quests, but instead a narrative that requires you to do X, Y, and Z, go and get this, get that, get everything that you need to go and finally venture to the final area, the final castle where the Lost King and Mei Yin are residing. Think like the Ganon Castle in Zelda, a castle you can see right from the very off, a place you need to go to beat the game, but you can't access it just yet. You've got to go and do the forest or water temple to unlock certain abilities or items that allow you finally, after all of that progression, to enter this final area. With everything you learnt from surviving this brand new map, to hone all of those skills and then apply it to this last level. It's like traditional level design, right? Reminding you once again, in that key art we got last weekend, there is a proto-ARK sort of force field covering the castle. I mean, it's so obvious now I'm looking at it. If it doesn't scream Ganon's Castle, I don't know what does. We know it's Gothic-inspired vampires and hello Castlevania, one of the pioneers of that form of level design. I wouldn't be surprised if that is going to be how progression is limited. Yeah, you'll go in with some foundation of knowledge of survival, but certain world events and narrative will prevent you from just slugging your way through to right to the very end. You've got to go to that place all the way over there and that place all the way over there, go and learn that in that section there, maybe even within a time-conscious environment, to then give you that Willy Wonka's golden ticket to the vampire factory. Dreaming, possibly, but I can't help but feel that giant red force field means more than just some version of a proto-ARK overlook, right? It's got to definitely allow you some way to finally get to the end game to beat the map. And speaking of narrative and story, one thing that's going to be prevalent throughout the entire of your playthrough is, of course, Mika and stories being told to her from Helena on the planet of Arat, where ARK 2 will be set. And there's no doubt in doing this is all in aid of creating hype for that sequel that, let's be honest, it's been some years now. It's been 5 years since that original ARK 2 trailer where, you know, it's become a bit of a joke right now that we'll never see ARK 2, we'll never be able to play in Vin Diesel's footsteps or play as Vin Diesel. There's no real clear picture if we're playing as the protagonist or following in his footsteps like we have with other main characters during ARK Ascended. And therein lies the issue, that we've been so wavering about ARK 2 that we frankly don't believe it's even a real thing by this point. Despite co-founders Jeremy and Jesse explaining, yeah, it's still definitely coming, but constant advancements in tech and innovations have constantly moved the goalposts, with it possibly being yet another 2 years away. And don't forget, the idea now is to allow both ARK Ascended and ARK 2 to run in tandem now. Seeing that ARK 2 is going to be a very story-driven, almost single-player-like experience with multiplayer add-on, but yet still intriguing the absolute gaming industry world on what this game is actually going to be, Lost Colony seems to seemingly put itself in a unique position to create brand new links and therefore hype to this very long anticipated sequel. The issue is, of course, with that seeming to be so far away still, yet 2 years at the very least, how are they going to keep the hype with this one? How are they going to invite players to say, look, if you want to learn more about ARK 2, play this map here, whilst with the desire, I'm sure, to generate interest for that sequel, but still with the knowledge that it's going to be a couple of years away yet. My guess would be by the end of this map we're going to get a full-blown understanding of at least who Mika is within the world of ARK 2 and Arat, and perhaps even touch on some preludes to what happened when all of those colony ship vessels actually landed on the planet. And once again, hello Lost Colony vampire-inspired Aratai? Maybe. And the last one has been staring us in the face this entire time. When you go and beat Extinction, something happens to you, your character, your survivor, as you've gone from map to map to map and you've ascended and you've evolved that implant in your arm. Well, when you finish beat Extinction, you turn into a Homo Deus. You turn into a higher being of power, just like Helena herself. You get the skin to throw on your character, don't you? But if you're a floating, transcended, ghost-like apparition, surely you could just then Superman fly around a rat prime. It's like nothing to you. On top of that, it was suggested to us in achieving the reseed protocol, our players are no longer a respawnable clone. We are now a unique human who, when dies, is gonna die for good. So we've got some wild balance here. On one hand, it's hardcore survival. Once you're dead, that's it, game over. You're back to square one and you've got to level up all over again. There's literally lore tied to all of this within the game. Or on the other hand, you're Dr. Manhattan, you're Vision. You're an infinite power of wisdom that can do anything and everything. Which sort of makes sense when you consider some biblical ambiguity, which ARK has really truly been all about. It really sets its feet on those pages. And then consider the Homo Deus form is like some heavenly type angelic being versus vampires. Like the darkest devilish form of all. Literally good versus evil in a very clear delivery between this old as history narrative that somehow, and I have no idea how, and maybe my lore isn't well adversed, maybe somebody in the comments is going to tell me otherwise, has got to find those two elements to somehow balance our players to be somewhat representative of the cloned, respawnable survivors we were up until this point. Wildcards seem to really want to test us with these incredibly harsh environments to venture and survive within, but narratively, how do they explain us, the survivor, who just beat a giant, big, monstrous alpha King Titan within a mega mech, is now scared of the cold? You know what I mean? Here's a tissue that I'm going to be wiping my eyes with when I'm crying because I'm getting beaten by vampires. Do you believe in any of these speculations? I'd love to know. Please do comment below. I know this has been a bit of a ranty video, but let's see if any of this comes true, eh? Good luck, Wildcard. I'm looking forward to this one. Really am truly hyped. This is a big moment in ARK, and I'm there, man. Just can't wait. Waffling. Until the next one, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, peace out.